Quick's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The Dennis, Dylan, and NWA.
This is the Run TMC podcast. That is the Run, the Marin County podcast, a podcast about basketball in Marin County. I am Duffy Ballard. With me is Dave Levine. This is season 2, episode Lucky 13. Are you feeling lucky today, Dave?
I'm lucky. I did coach a 26-4 loss yesterday in a 7B girls game in a frigid St. Vincent's gym. But otherwise, I'm very lucky.
It sounds to me like you were lucky to score 4 points. Can you take us through those 2 baskets? I presume it was 2 baskets rather than free throws, but take us through the high moments of that affair.
The high moments were the first 2 minutes of the game when we ripped off 4 points. The low moments were when our opponents went into a 2-3 zone and we did not score the rest of the afternoon.
Okay. Did this further enhance your love of the zone defense, especially at the CYO age?
I'm gonna move on, Duffy. I'm gonna reserve judgment. But yes, it was a great illustration of how zone defense can be very effective at that age. But
a topic for another day. A topic
Sure.
for a day that has happened previously and will happen again in the future. Dave, the Run TMC podcast, it's sponsored by West End Nursery, Nike San Domenico Camps, and BBA, the Hub and Batiste Rum.
Well done.
You like that delivery?
Well done.
That
Really
is
good.
The West End Nursery, Nike San Domenico Camps, and BBA, the Hub and Batiste Rum.
Beautiful. We appreciate all of our sponsors. And so, listeners, today's episode is a Marin heavy episode. We've had some episodes are more broad in scope, and we've got a few of those coming up as well with some really interesting kind of non-basketball people that were awesome. But this one is a Marin heavy episode and a basketball nerd heavy episode with Tony Butler, who's phenomenal, great coach. And even in our intro here, we're gonna focus on a lot of local stuff because we're at a really fun time of year with league coming up to a closure, and we're getting into playoffs and postseason. But Duffy, you have a few items we wanted to hit before the interview, so why don't you?
Yeah, we're hyper local this episode, so we're going to do some hyper local news and notes. We're just kind of ping pong around a little bit here, Dave, and I'm going to start with the ranchtoday.org. That is www.theranchtoday, all one word, .org, which is where you can go to sign up for an adult basketball league. We've talked about our adult basketball leagues in the past, Dave. This year, in the spring, they are running 2 divisions, 18 and over. Anyone who wants to come out, ball out, 18 and over. That's a shout out to John Granucci, ball out, because that's one of his favorite phrases. And then they have new this season, 40 plus. So 18 and over, 40 plus. Season will start March 17th, and you can register up until February 15th. The games are usually Tuesdays and Thursdays at Hall Middle School, and you might see friend of the podcast, Daryl Rory, there doing some officiating, as well as our friends, the Traveling Mercs.
Yep, come on out. And then I know there's a women's league that our friend KK helps run in Novato as well. I'm not sure the timing on that, but certainly look it up. Adult league basketball is just a great way to stay in shape and build community and connectivity. I know I've really enjoyed being on this team, even though I'm now kind of taking a step back in terms of playing because I'm I'm old and can't move as well, but it's such a fun thing to do to keep competing. And the best part of it is the post game meal and maybe adult beverage at a place of your choice where we can rehash the minutiae of the game and pretend like we're still in high school.
Yeah, and what we usually do is just compliment the officials the entire time. So Daryl, Mark, Big Mark, Little Mark, that's kind of what we do. We just hang around
Just
and just give you a lot of praise. Yeah, no, it's a great time. It's a good community, bunch of good guys that have teams in this league who've been doing it for a long time, and we're all buddies with each other, even when even off the floor after win or lose. So if you're thinking about it, go to theranchtoday.org and sign up a team. I know Heather Wilson would be very appreciative of some captains coming on board for both these leagues.
Indeed. Okay,
Indeed.
you have a mini hoop update.
Yes, so a couple mini hoop updates. So Eileen Burke, who has been at the last couple Archie home games, she and I had a quick conversation recently. She said that she'd received some really good feedback on the episode with her and her dad, Joe. Burke Fraser, who is her nephew, is on our coaching staff for the Archie team, and he said he'd received some good feedback as well. So very cool. We heard from we have so many friends of the podcast, Dave, but friend of the podcast, Chad Stewart, told us something we didn't know before we interviewed Eileen and Joe, and that was his son Braden Stewart and a bunch of his buddies when they were at Wade Thomas were they at Wade Thomas? I guess they would have been at Whitehill. Anyway, Dave, they were hanging out and they discovered the mini hoop at Eileen's house, and that's how the mini hoop kind of became the hangout basketball spot. So that's pretty cool. And we also have rumors are circulating that maybe it's broken. So if it is, Eileen, please, there is a whole mini hoop community out there that needs their fix, including my son Holden.
These are things that the mayor has to worry about.
So Alan Rossi, friend of the podcast, Dave, he's been in contact with us repeatedly. And we have a shout out on his behalf too.
Yeah, Alan is just a great guy and an avid listener and supporter of our podcast. He sends emails out to us, often thanking us for what we're doing and letting us know that he's not only listening, but he's also supporting our sponsors. He's going to the hub and getting burgers. But he wanted us to mention his friend, the great Mike Diaz. Mike, if that name sounds familiar, Mike was a longtime coach at San Rafael High of the girls' side, boys and girls, and was Michelle Bravelli's coach back in the 90s. But Mike just turned 90, like our former guest and friend Joe Burke. So we just wanted to acknowledge Mike Diaz. Mike grew up in Fairfield. He went to Armijo High School, where he still has the single game scoring record. He dropped 64 points in a game. That's probably more than I scored my entire senior year. And he was a 29 points a game as a senior, was just an incredible athlete, both basketball and football, went on to play basketball at Cal, and then had a long career as an educator and coach in Marin, was an athletic director, as we said, coached basketball, and still, as we talked to Michelle Bravelli last season, Michelle regularly has coffee with her coach, Mike, still to this day. So wanted to acknowledge Mike Diaz. Happy birthday, coach. And thank you, Alan Rossi, for listening.
64 points is pretty amazing, and no three-pointers.
Yeah, exactly. That was in 1953, I believe. So pretty incredible.
Might have been only ones. Did they even have two-pointers back in that day?
Another thing that Alan pointed out is that Mike Diaz, when he played at Cal, was fouled by Wilt Chamberlain.
I'd like to see some footage. I'm guessing that may not have been a foul. I'm guessing that it might have been one of those calls that goes to the shorter player because they're shorter, and officials sometimes just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt.
As officials tell me all the time, it could be clean up top, but maybe Wilt got him with the body down low. So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, wanted to acknowledge Mike. Happy birthday.
Hit him with the appendage down low.
That's right. And then one more shout out to former guest Tim Lacose and friend of the podcast. Tim is the Dominican women's head coach. We wanted to give an update on the Dominican season. They're having a strong season. The Dominican women are 15-9, and Tim checks in regularly with us. They have several home games coming up. So I know February 8th, 13th, 17th, and 19th, they have home games, and then they get into the playoffs. Dominican is a great gym. It's right there in San Rafael, and they have really high level basketball on the women's side and the men's side. A lot of fun to go to. So if there's not an MCAL game that night or a BCL game, and you want to take the kids or yourself to go watch some good college basketball, I mean, Dominican's right in our backyard. Go support Tim and the Dominican women, and Coach Arginal and the men.
Yep. Yeah, easy to find right off the freeway. Great gym, great facility, nice place to watch a game. So yeah, definitely go support the Dominican teams. And we appreciate Coach Lacose reaching out to us, providing us updates. So we have just a few more, Dave. So we've got, first you mentioned Michelle Bravelli, and we were up at Novato with Archie last week. And I would like to thank her and her son. I'm not sure which of her boys, but they picked up my son Holden's backpack, which he left in the gym after the JV game. And they took it to the office, and this was really good because he had his laptop in there. So there was a moment of sphincter tone in our household when we realized he left his backpack up there. So thank you to Michelle, and also thank you to Doug DeVore, who came by and watched our game, said hello. He's looking good. He says that Josh is doing great down at Cal Lutheran. He loves the team. He loves the program. He's not playing a lot just yet because they've got a upperclassman heavy team down there, but it's been a really good experience for him. And kind of as he told us before, he still thinks that Josh maybe needs to get punched in the face to really wake up. But, I think all of us Marin kids could really use that. So, Josh, you're not alone there. Yeah. And then Melissa Boyle, she was up at San Marin. They had a Melissa Boyle night up there. She spoke. Unfortunately, I missed her speech, Dave, but I did see her at the very end of the girls' game, and she looked great. And the stands were just amazing. They had pink T-shirts that they had made for the game, celebrating the event, breast cancer awareness. And the stands were just full of pink. And they had the boys' teams both came out, and their warm-up shirts were the pink shirts. And Alex Hamblin on our team, he was wearing the pink shirt at practice the next week. So just a super great vibe, and great job, Sam Marin, putting on that event. And it was great to see Melissa. She's still battling the cancer. She's not through anything yet, but she looked great, and as always, just had a resilient spirit about her.
Yeah, and we have Tony Butler on this episode, and we discuss building culture at San Marin and his leadership. And Tony's self-deprecating and modest and low key, but I shame on us. I failed to ask him about the Melissa Boyle night, but what a special night to honor her. And she just stays positive through everything. And apparently it was a electric night at San Marin. I'm glad you were there, Duff. We had a great picture of you and Melissa that I put on Instagram. But kudos to Tony for helping put that together. And we love you, Melissa, and we're thinking about you all the time.
Yeah, it was really well done. All right, Dave. Well, we're talking MCAL, so we are coming up on the last couple games of regular season, as you mentioned, and then the playoffs are next week. So today's February 3rd. This episode will go out either today or tomorrow, Dave, depending on how distracted I get. And then the playoffs for the boys, I know, are there's Saturday playing game if necessary, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. And I'll give a little update on where we stand with the boys playoff picture-wise, and you can with the girls. But I'll let you go first, Dave, because I'm a gentleman.
Well, so on the girls' side, Redwood pretty firm in first place here at 7-0. I think this is the latest update as of today. But they're looking really good. Obviously, the Redwood Marin Catholic game we talked about a couple weeks ago was fantastic. MC's in second place, San Marin is in third, and then fourth place you have kind of a three-team battle between Archie, Branson, and Tam. Archie has a game advantage, but here we are in the last couple days of the season, so it'll be fun to see how that shakes out for the 4 seed. But been a really fun season. As we've discussed, and we talk with Tony about this, the schedule change in the MCAL just makes league more compressed. So every game has more import. You don't have the double round robin anymore. So if you have injuries or illness, and it's winter, kids are sick, uh, that one game can have a big difference in the standings. And here we are in the kind of the final throes of the season, and then we get into playoffs, which will be really fun.
Awesome. Yeah, on the boys' side, there is a lot that could still move around in the last couple games. So Redwood seems to be in control. They have one loss, and so if they beat Archie on Thursday, they're the number one seed. My understanding is they are probably the number one seed anyway because of this complicated tiebreak situation with a random number drawing that has already occurred, but I'm not 100% sure on that, Dave. But Redwood will be almost certainly in the top two. And then you have in the mix right now with two losses, we have Archie, Marin Catholic, Terralinda, and Branson. So any of those could finish between the 2 and the 5 slot. Terralinda has two big games. They play Wednesday at Branson, and then they host San Rafael on Thursday. So that's going to determine a lot. And then San Marin and San Rafael are both in the mix. San Marin and San Rafael, that must be tomorrow, if my sources are correct. So that's going to be a huge game. So Novato and Tam are probably out. San Rafael and San Marin are probably fighting for the last spot. So as you remember, Dave, so there's 1 and 2 get the bye, and then 3 through 6 play, and then you get your semis. So that's kind of where we stand. But it's been a very competitive regular season. We've had San Marin beat Branson. We've had MC beat Redwood. So really anything can happen right now. Terralinda beat MC. Very competitive.
Yeah, and then I should say on the girls' side, I was so focused on the top of the bracket. It's the same structure. So 1 and 2 get a bye, which I think at this point it's pretty clear it's going to be Redwood and Marin Catholic. And then you got San Marin at 3, and Archie, Branson, and Tam are 3, 4, 5, and 6. But Novato is also in the mix, and then you got Terralinda and Santa Fe at the bottom of the standings. But Terralinda has a win, but Novato could squeak in. So these last couple days here will be interesting to see who can squeak in at the 6th seed to play. San Marin and Tony Butler's tough defense.
I'm confirming here, Dave, that San Rafael and San Marin is tomorrow, and I believe that game is at Dominican because it doesn't tell me on Max Preps because the San Rafael gym is still a piece of rubble from what I understand.
Right. Yep. And then next week, so the playoffs, as you mentioned, Saturday, February 8th, there's a play-in game if needed, and then Monday, February 10th, the MCAL playoffs start, and then there are games on Wednesday the 12th, and then Friday the 14th is the boys championship game at Redwood, and Saturday, February 15th is the girls championship game at Terralinda's shiny new gym. For the Bay Counties League, where San Domenico University, Marin Academy, Lick, those teams play. The playoffs are next week, February 12th, semifinals, and then the 15th are the championships. And actually, because Kezar Pavilion, which is where those playoffs usually are, is also under construction, the BCL playoffs are going to be in Marin. So the semifinal games are going to be at Marin Academy, and the championship games on Saturday, February 15th, will be at Marin Catholic.
And by the way, Tyler Gaffney and San Domenico have been really playing well. So they've had a couple huge wins. They beat Lick Wilmerdine, who has been having a great season. Then they beat University at home by 18, and then they had a win over Urban. And both those wins, the University and Urban wins, were both payback for earlier losses in the BCL. So BCL on the boys' side has been super competitive.
Yeah, it's great. So San Domenico and Lick are both 6-2. University's 5-2, and Urban's 4-4. And any of those teams can beat any of the other team on any given night. Urban, Joe Skiffer is the coach. They just move the ball beautifully. They play great defense. Joe was a Division I player himself. He's a really good coach. University, we've talked a lot about Randy Beslow and his team. Lick Wilmerding, Elliott Smith has been there forever. Great guy, great coach. So really high level basketball from the BCL. And then on the girls' side, University is still firmly in the first slot. We can't seem to find a way to beat them. San Domenico is in second, but we have a tough game against Lick tomorrow night. Lick is in third, and then Kelly Thomas's Marin Academy team, can't sleep on them. They're in the fourth spot, and they're very good. So really fun season for the BCL on both the boys and the girls side.
Yep, awesome. Cool. All right, so Dave, I've got a couple things for you before we move on to our Tony intro.
Okay.
I'm going to hit you with a Jonas quote first. You have so many friends of the podcast coming up on this intro. So, friend of the podcast, Jonas Honick, our guest for 2 interviews last season. So he's been advising us sort of at a high level and giving us sort of philosophical guidance for our team at Archie, which has been so great. It's really cool to have him sort of involved and advising. And so he will send like a quote a day, or sometimes more. And this is one recent. It's very simple, but it's a nice one to remember as a coach and as a player. And that is focus on progress, not perfection. Which is similar, Dave, to what we often say to each other sometimes in ER when we're doing procedures that maybe putting a bone back together, that sort of thing. And that is, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Try and do too much, you can make it a lot worse.
It's a great lesson. I mentioned this. We interviewed our friend Tasha Jackson. That's going to come out in a little bit, and I mentioned this in our interview with her that a coach recently told me as a coaching advice to not be a scoreboard watcher as a coach, to focus on the energy of your team, not the score of the game. Mm-hmm. Easier said than done, but same kind of idea as Jonas's quote, which is really astute and great. I like that. Focus on progress, not perfection. It's about the process, right? And it's bigger picture. So a good lesson for both coaches and players.
Yep. Okay. I've got 2 quick glossary terms for you.
Okay.
All right. First one, I'm going to give them both to you and see if you can guess what they are.
Okay.
Korak, Skozi, Met. Korak, Skozi, Met. That's the first one. Next one is Trubisky, Triba.
Okay. So these are not English words.
We're
starting
not.
there.
Okay.
Starting there.
They're not.
I'm guessing these are in honor of our friend of the podcast, Luka Doncic.
Friend of the podcast, yes.
Friend of the podcast. Actually, mentioned in disparaging terms in the first episode ever of this podcast when Mike Fulton said he does not like Luka because
friend of the podcast, yeah.
Yes, enemy of the podcast. As you remember, Mike Fulton, our first episode, many years ago, said he can't watch Luka because he doesn't play defense. And guess what? That's what essentially what the Dallas Mavericks GM said when justifying the trade, said, in so many words, Luka doesn't play defense. So I assume these are Slovenian words, Duffy.
Yes, I've been brushing up on my Slovenian, although I did not practice my enunciation. So there's a pretty high chance that there was a player control foul there with my Slovenian. But I'm going to start, I'm going to give Luka a little feedback sandwich. So beer belly is Trubisky Truba. So pivo means beer and Truba means bell. So we have heard that Luka does like to take like a halftime, hydration beverage. Maybe not at halftime, but definitely post game, and that may be contributing to his defensive lack of alacrity. Maybe it's one way to phrase it, Dave. So that is the first one, or actually it's the second one, but I'm giving it to you first.
Okay.
And then part of the sandwich, we do love Luka's moves. I mean, he has an ability to appear as if he is going in slow motion, but yet make a shot look so easy. And some of that, of course, is his size and his dexterity and his ability to sort of change angles and fake a pass. And but it's also his footwork. I mean, he has just really nice footwork on offense. So the Korak Skozimet is Slovenian for step through shot. So this is where the player, he'll get in the lane, he'll pivot, he'll make the defender move a little bit, and then he'll just step through them as he shoots. And of course, it helps to be 6'10" or whatever he is and have a high release. So Korak Skozimet, it is something that all players can, to work on. If they slam 2 feet in the paint and then get to that spot and are patient, they often can find a way to step through and make their shot easier. So that is the meat of the sandwich. Good move, Luka. And then the bread on the other side is if you want to win a championship ever, you got to get in shape. Go spend some time with LeBron and see if you can't put a little definition on those flabby arms.
Well, this was a massive trade, and I've heard several NBA analysts say this is one of the most meaningful, shocking trades in the history of the sport. It just came kind of out of nowhere, and the Mavs didn't really shop him, right? Like they, when you sell a house, usually you hire an agent, like our friend Karen Horsemeyer, and you go to market and see what the market will bear. This was like the equivalent of just having someone knock at your door and say, "Hey, want Luka Doncic?" And the Lakers said, "Sure." So they didn't, the Lakers didn't give up Dalton Knecht. They didn't give up Austin Reeves. Like they kept their first rounder in 29. Like, I mean, it's or first rounders in before 29. Like it seems like the Mavs could have gotten more for Luka. So they were just really interested in moving him quickly. I'm fascinated to see how this plays out, how Luka and LeBron play together. I assume they will play great together, and the Lakers are going to be very good. But just a fascinating trade, and happened so quickly.
Well, my prediction right now, based on the moves that have been made, is that Dallas will go further in the playoffs than the Lakers, based on how that team is currently constructed. And they have a lot of length. And Davis is like the two-way player, and they've got a lot of offense. And if Kyrie's been playing well. So that's my current prediction, Dave, but I'm guessing the Lakers are done, and they probably will fleece another team and, be able to add one or two defensive players that make them really challenging to stop in the playoffs.
We'll see how it plays out, Duffy, but I like your predictions.
So, okay, before we go on to Tony Butler, I'm just, as we're podcasting here, I'm seeing reports from my brother that Mark Stein reporting the Warriors are looking into trade that might bring Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant. Wouldn't that be something?
Wow. The thing I like about Jimmy Butler, Duffy, is that he is a coffee aficionado.
Is he?
Very much so. He's a appreciator of coffee, good quality coffee. Yeah. So
you know who else likes coffee? Jimmy's long lost cousin, Tony Butler.
That's a professional podcaster segue right there.
There we go.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to the interview. Tony Butler. So Tony is a longtime coach in Marin. He grew up in Marin. We go through this with him, but just the 10 seconds is Drake High grad, grew up in Fairfax, went to University of Arizona, has had a 20-plus year career as a teacher at San Rafael High. And during that time, he's been a basketball coach for both boys and girls. He started on the boys' side with Marin Academy as an assistant, went over to San Rafael High where he coached the boys' varsity for several years. And then in 2018, he moved over to coach. He still teaches at San Rafael, but he's been the girls' varsity coach at San Marin. And Tony's teams, I say it all the time, his teams are always in games, regardless of their ability to score, their talent level. And he's had some very talented players. He's had some young teams, but they're always in games because his teams play hard, they play together, they have a system, and that's Tony. He's just a fantastic leader. He's a really good coach. I've coached with him at NBBA, and he's someone I admire and watch closely and just try to learn from. And he's also been a supporter of our podcast from day one. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like whenever an episode is released, within minutes usually of it hitting Apple Podcast and Spotify, I get a text from Tony with feedback, comments, a correction, usually something I said, not you, Duffy. So he's a fan of the podcast, and that's because he's just a leader in the Marin basketball community. So this was a really fun discussion. We talk about a lot of different things, including the new NCS seeding regime, which is interesting and will be interesting to see how it plays out. We discuss his coaching philosophy and just his perspective on the game. So thought it was really fun.
Yeah, great intro, Dave. And I'll just say one thing. We didn't get into Tony's game all that much, really at all. But I will say I played rec league ball with Tony for a couple years when I first moved back to Marin. Great player, great shooter, pretty gritty. And we had some memorable wins, including one over Gold Rush, which to this day I'll cherish as one of my favorite wins of all time, because that guy, what's his name, Rick Lewis, he was not happy. I mean, and to see him not happy because a bunch of scrappy, older Marin kids are beating his hired horses, man, that was fun.
Beautiful. I do want to say one thing, a little player control from Tony. So in crunch time, we put him on the spot. This was one of the few interviews, by the way, where we did not send Tony the questions beforehand, and that was not premeditated. It was just we're busy and lazy, more busy than lazy, but a little bit of both. But he obviously did great. But in crunch time, we asked him toughest players he's coached against, both boys and girls. And on the girls' side, he mentioned Grayson Levette and Hannah Golan. And then after the fact, as we were done, he texted us like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't mention Kylie Horsemeyer." So he wanted to make sure that Kylie Horsemeyer was acknowledged as one of the toughest players he's ever coached against. And as someone who saw Kylie play a lot, I would agree with him. And Kylie is kicking butt at University of San Diego.
Very cool. And he did also, we put him on the spot for an aphorism, which is kind of not really fair. I mean, that's one of those things you want to have a chance to kind of think about it ahead of time. So he did not have an aphorism, but we have plenty from Jonas. So we can sprinkle some in for you next time, Tony.
That's right. Thanks, Tony, for joining us. Everybody enjoy the interview and stay tuned we have some fun episodes coming up. And as always, we will keep everybody apprised of the latest and greatest with the high school season as we get into the playoffs and the postseason.
Yep. Good job, Dave. See you soon, buddy.
Bye, Duff.
Tony Butler, the great Tony Butler, our, I think, number one fan.
Sure.
Our most avid listener.
Sure, yeah.
Actually, our most, the quickest listener.
I was going to say immediate responder. Yeah. I'm excited when I see that come up in my playlist, new episode.
I'm always honored to get the text from you correcting something that I said.
Yeah, I have an admission. So I'm a big podcaster, and so I had been tossing around this idea for this exact entity in my head for a good 2 years. So when it came out, I was like, great, somebody decided to do it, and you were handling it much better than I would have.
You missed out on a huge payday, Tony.
Oh my God, all the hub burgers that we pay for. All right, well, we're honored to have Tony Butler. Tony's one of the best coaches around. He's been a long time coach in the county. He's a Marin native. So Tony, I'll do your quick bio here. So you grew up. We were talking. You grew up in San Anselmo,
Fairfax, San
Anselmo.
Yeah.
A proud graduate of Drake High.
Yes, sir.
Where he played a little bit of basketball.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you play for Pete? Play for Doug?
I played for Pete. Pete retired after my senior year, so I was.
So it's your fault.
Yeah, I I left when Pete left.
Okay. And then went to the University of Arizona, bear down.
Yep.
Big U of A guy.
Big win last night.
Nice. Well, that was a controversial
Some
win.
drama, right?
Yeah, there was some drama.
Hurley pulled the team off the court.
Yeah.
And has been a longtime educator and coach in the county. Okay, so 2 years varsity boys assistant at Marin Academy. Was that with Jesse?
That was with Victor Bramante was the head coach
Vic.
at that time. Yeah.
Love Vic. Hi, Vic. He's a listener. He's got a shirt.
Just saw him at Nevada High the other night.
Yeah.
Vic knows everyone.
Yeah,
Love
he's
Vic.
got a nephew.
Vic scored a couple times on me in adult league.
I'm guessing from the corner.
Yeah, I was a corner three,
Corner
and I
three,
was
yeah.
I was annoyed.
Can't leave him up. Well, that is where I first met Tony, adult league.
That's
with,
right.
With
We
Vic.
played on the same team.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years.
Wow. Just talking about adult league basketball is making my back hurt right now. Okay, 2 years at MA, and then 12 years at San Rafael High, 8 as varsity head coach.
Correct.
And then in 2018, Tony moved over to be the varsity girls head coach at San Marin, and he's had a stellar 7-year run at San Marin. We're going to talk a lot about Tony's teams and the culture he's built there. And Tony's been a teacher at San Rafael High for how many years?
I think I'm going on. It's blurry. I think I'm in year 21
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Amazing. And husband and dad of 2 fabulous daughters, Delaney and Lila. Your wife Lisa is awesome. Hi,
Yep.
Lisa. So Tony's just a great resource for me as a coach. Like I often will text him with questions about strategy or how do I turn the lights on in the gym. He's just one of those guys who always wants to help, has opinions, which we love. So thrilled to sit down with him. Tony, let's start with the MCAL. Let's talk about the league.
Current state of the league.
Current state of the league. Go.
I think, this could go in many ways. I mean, I think in terms of the state of the league, it's being impacted by, I guess, our current schedule decisions. And, only 8 league games.
Yeah.
It puts a lot more weight on each particular game. I think the exciting part of the league right now is not the top of the league. I think in this last week, you've got some tension in terms of who's going to actually get in to the playoffs. So, because we're sitting in the 3rd spot, we're keeping an eye on what's going on. Archie and Tam have a really big game Tuesday night. I think that will have an impact on who we play. Novato technically is still involved and alive, and I think that their game, our game on Thursday night, they will have an opportunity to stay in and get into a play-in game if they win that game. So there's, I think it's great. There's multiple teams playing for placement in games. The games matter down the line, right? But I don't know if we've necessarily determined who's sitting where just in 5 games.
So as we sit today, and obviously we're talking about the girls' side. Redwood is in first. Are you guys in second or is MC?
Marin Catholic's in
MC is second.
Yeah,
You're
they beat us.
third.
Yep.
And then there's this race for 4th. So the schedule change, what's your perspective on that? I mean, obviously it was driven by some of the boys and girls teams who had aspirations of, playing really high level schedules.
It was the bookends. It was also some of the coaches of the teams needing to rebuild. Also, didn't want to have to play those top teams, right? The Branson boys kind of and Redwood boys were both right at the tip of the spear in terms of like we want to play other games and we want to be able to play a national schedule. And I think part of it was there was turnover in coaching, so there was not a lot of experience in the room, and everyone kind of just nodded and agreed that like, okay, great, let's try that. Because when we did the double round robin first, that definitely had some negative impacts on everyone's experience, and that football players were missing league games. You were just getting through scrimmages before having to play a league game, and if you, like for example, the way the schedule fell, I think we opened with Redwood and Marin Catholic on November 30th. Or December 1st. And those games mattered.
Yeah.
And nobody was really ready for that, especially last year or 2 years ago. I think I had when I had a brand new team, so it was just kind of like, what are we doing here? Or maybe I can't remember, but it felt weird to play a game of so much consequence early in the year. So I understand why we went away from that, especially for on the boys' side in football. It's not fair to those.
So I understand it was a 2-year pilot, so this is coming up on the end of year number 2.
Yeah.
So the next sort of MCAL coaches meeting, there'll be a clean slate. Do you have any prediction as to what might happen? And I know people have talked about some hybrid where, you play a round robin over 2 years, so 12 games or whatever, one season, and the teams you don't play that season twice, you play them twice the next year.
You're right. Well, I'm open to ideas. Because I've coached when we played the unbalanced schedule. The argument was that if you got the top teams twice in your schedule and someone else got the weaker teams twice, there was an advantage. But the reality is the cream always rises. The top teams typically always win the championship. Rarely did the 6th place or 5th place team ever even make it to the final night. I don't know that I can't remember when that ever happened. I'm sure Doug could tell you. Denellen could tell you. But the cream rises, right? So my argument was always, well, if you can't get into the 6th spot, then does it really matter? And I get it. Teams want to keep playing because usually there's 8 teams in our league that are qualified for North Coast section, so they want to keep playing.
Right.
And for a while you weren't allowed to schedule games after the last league game, regardless if you weren't in the playoffs. And they've changed that now. You can actually hang on to a scrimmage and you could play a game, I believe, and that way you're not dormant for 12 days and playing wiffle ball and tennis. And I mean, Doug, ask Doug. Doug's got more experience in that than I ever had, but playing futsal for basketball practice just to keep the kids engaged in the gym and staying in shape while they're waiting for a game. So that part was an issue with it, right? But I would actually prefer to go back to that than to play a double round robin and have to play league games in November. But the single round robin, having to schedule 18 non-league games, feels excessive, and it's great you get to play more other teams, but I think if you ask the kids, they get more excited for league games than they do for non-league games. Especially you get to the winter break and you're playing Dixon, for example. They're like, why, coach, why are we doing this? And try to stress to them that every game matters and for the end of the year, and it does, but it's really hard for them to get up for. So I get that part. But the single round robin, I just don't think you determine a real league champion even in 8 games when there are multiple teams that are competitive. I think the boys' side could probably make a better argument for that this year in terms of, I think if they were to go back around the cycle again, some of those teams would beat teams they lost to the first time and create a little more balance there.
I mean, Duffy and I are on a text chain with some of our correspondents on the boys' side, and there's a lot of discussion about, what are the tiebreaker rules?
Yeah.
Because the boys, it's a jumble, right? I mean, you've got.
Jumble,
I mean, it's
highly likely there's a play-in game, right? Is that the way it's headed?
I think, it could head towards play-in, but I think there could be like a 4-way or 3-way tie for first or for second. And then, in terms of seeding this year, because 2 teams get a bye, it matters a lot who ends up with the number 2 slot. So there's a pretty good chance the number 2 slot will be determined by a tiebreak, even
by the number.
By the number.
Yeah. Well, so when we played Redwood on Tuesday night, we were already aware that no matter what we did in that game, we were going to finish third, because they had Marin Catholic had beaten us, they had beaten Marin Catholic. So even if we had beaten Redwood, we would have been in a 3-way roundabout tie. No wins above the tie, and then it goes to the number, and we had the lowest number. So regardless, we were going to finish third. So we went in just like, hey, let's go see where we stand.
Yeah, and you're going to play Marin Catholic in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, we have to take care of business. There's that part, and that's no disrespecting anyone else. But we knew that if we wanted to place higher than those teams, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. So, how about NCS changes? So you're an astute observer of all this stuff, and the NCS changed the way that it works this year. What are your briefly describe the change, Tony? I'll give you 48 minutes to do it, and then and give us your perspective on it.
Oh well, I think it's rooted in discussion or the argument of what equity actually
Competitive
means.
equity.
Competitive equity actually means, and I think you'll probably get different answers from different people depending on where
Yeah.
they sit. I think that the way we were trending was that because the more success you had, every 2 years you would bump up. So you had this trend for all of the top teams
Yep.
just migrating up to Division One. And I think that the writing was on the wall that, wait a minute, what's going to happen down at the lower levels here? My guess is you probably had some conversations happening behind closed doors by those schools who were saying, well, who were used to having a ton of success, and now we're finding themselves pushed into a division with 12 other schools that are the same but maybe bigger. And so there's probably a little bit of that rooted there. Like, how do we get back to a place where the section can be represented at the state level, where we send our best teams rather than eliminating them by putting them all in one division and having them just assassinate each other. Which was great for the rest of us because, we would all get the first day the divisions came out, we were looking to see like, yes, Legion's gone. And then the argument became, what are we actually proving if those teams aren't getting to compete for championships? So then I think the conversation went back, kind of got into like, what are they doing in the CCS, which I think makes a little more sense to me. They don't always have like a basic 16-team bracket. It's staggered, so like your 1 seed doesn't play in a 16 seed necessarily right away. You got to earn the right to get to that game. There's some different ways they do it. In the southern section, same thing. And I think our current situation looks more like the NorCal situation. Where you're placed where your talent is or where your success is, and so that's what's happening. They're basically using the max preps rate rankings, and it's been a while since I've dug into the algorithm as to how they come up with those numbers. That's not my cup of tea.
It's secret, right? It's
it does feel very.
I think
secret.
DeepSeek developed it.
But that's what it comes down to. So it's based on the rankings of max prep rankings, and the top 6 teams now, regardless of division, go to the Open. So when the last game happens, whatever that is, 2 weeks from now. A week from now. Wait, a week from yesterday, right? No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from yesterday.
We've got playoffs.
Whatever that rating is when we wake up that morning, is where teams will be placed. But there is a committee of nondescript individuals. DeepSeek they are given the right to move teams within the 16 teams selected to the bracket. From what I understand, they're not allowed to move them more than one spot. And if they're only allowed to move one spot, it's because of a head-to-head competition.
But also, aren't teams limited? So, like, for example, you guys, you're a division. Is Sam in Division 2?
Division 3. Worst division to possibly be in.
So you're right. I would agree. Yeah. So Division 3, you are limited. You cannot move more than 2 divisions up or down. Correct. So like San Domenico, we're a Division 5 school, as I've talked about a lot. Last year, we got bumped all the way up to Division 2 in NorCal's. That was rough.
You've complained about that a lot.
Have I mentioned that, Duffy? Yeah. So under this new regime, that reseeding happens at the NCS level before NorCal's, and we would be limited. We could only go up to Division 3.
Yeah, and I get that part. Like I think there needs to be, and I think there will be, some tweaking to the system. I think there's been a lot of complaints that I try to ring the ears of the ADs that I know are in the loop. Shout out Adam Cowan. Like, I just try to get a feel from him on what he's hearing, and he said yes. I think there's a ton of complaints happening. He's really good about how he words it. So I think what they'll probably do is tweak where you can bump to.
Okay.
In terms of bumping up or bumping down. I've got a coworker that I work with who's got a very in-depth spreadsheet. He tells me he's not on the committee. I'm not sure I believe him based on how deep this spreadsheet goes. If you text me, I will send you screenshots. I can't share the sheet, but it's pretty much current to the date, and you can see where you stand, your rating, your strength of schedule, everyone else where you stand. So I know this morning where we would stand. Do you have a question?
Well, it just occurred to me, that I don't know the answer to this question, which is, all right, so NCS is competitive equity.
Yep.
You go up 2 levels or down 2 levels or stay the same, whatever. NorCal's,
Doesn't matter.
you can go anywhere.
I think so. I don't know where there are any rules there. And one of the complaints about in North Coast section, which I discovered, I followed volleyball, girls volleyball, just to kind of get an idea, to see if there was cheat codes in terms of how I scheduled, to see if like maybe that will impact it. And I think what people are finding is that I don't know if there is a way to sort of cheat the system in terms of how you schedule, meaning playing like an elite schedule so that you lose more games and maybe you find yourself not so high. If you don't, I don't know that there's an answer to that.
So you could get screwed again in NorCal's, right? You could win divisions.
Yes.
Well, that's why I'm losing games. I'm playing chess, man. Everybody else is playing checkers.
So what I discovered watching volleyball was that there is, from what I understand, and I couldn't find any, it's arbitrary on how many teams they put in a bracket. So I think where there's 96 total, something like 96 total teams can qualify. But if only 90 qualify, they need to balance the brackets. So how do they decide who gets bumped and who stays?
Yeah.
And so what you saw in girls volleyball was there was Terra Linda girls volleyball, for example, should have been, I believe, a 16 seed or a 15 seed, but then they ended up a 7 seed in the division below. Bethel girls volleyball, same thing. They could have been a 15 or 16 seed. They ended up a 4 seed.
Yeah.
Vintage ended up a 1 seed. I don't know who makes that decision, right? So if you're just happen to be the lucky stroke of like, hey, we get to go down instead of being fodder for a 1 seed. I don't know who's making that decision and how they decide. I think that's something that probably should be transparent. So like if there's 90 teams, then Division 1 gets 15 and Division 2 gets 15 and so on, so that you kind of know. I don't know how they're making those decisions.
By the way, Duffy is serving us coffee right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to serve up another question if you don't mind.
Whoa, go.
I want to see if Tony can tell us exactly where his team ranks right now as of last updated January 30th. So as of 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think in that rating, we were either one in front of Northgate or one behind Northgate, and I think we were the 6th seed in that one, or the 7th seed.
I have you here, California, 132.
So I think it's 18th or 13th or 18th in the section.
16th in the section.
16th, okay.
Division 3, number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Division 3 state, number 12.
Where are your boys, Duff?
We are number 8 in the state, and then number 3 in Division 3.
Yeah. So for me, like, I think they should rename it so that, because there's confusion in general from the public. And I listen to my students at Center Fell talk about, we're Division 7, we're Division 5. Nobody really understands, like, what division, if you're Division 3 size-wise, why are you Division 1 in the playoffs? It doesn't, I think it's confusing. I think they should probably put you in divisions by size-wise and then maybe call the brackets something else, right? Like, if it has nothing to do with your school size, and maybe it's open, platinum, that way. Yeah. Right? Because in the end, if you're winning Division 4, you're not really winning. You're winning what was put in front of you. Good for you. Extra basketball, extra sports for teenagers playing for something, I think is important. I'm wholly against this idea that, they should take it down to 8 teams and only do this and only play for the best. And it's like, no, that's not what these kids are going to remember. They get to remember playing for something at the end of the year. But don't call them a state champion, right? Like, I don't, You weren't coaching at San Domenico, but when a couple years ago, we beat 3 state champions.
Right, Branson.
It was Branson, San Domenico, or maybe we had 3 wins. We beat Branson twice and San Domenico, and we played somebody else too. And that was our feather, right, in our cap. But we laughed at the idea that teams were celebrating state championships, and we were like, wait a minute.
No, I get it. But like that year, University beat us. Like, well, the year after we won state, we won NorCal for Division 4.
Yeah.
But University beat us 4 times that year.
Yeah.
They got bumped up to Division 3 for NorCal. So they lose in the second round. We win NorCal Division 4. So we're going to the state. Yeah. We're going to the state championship. University's sitting at home.
Yeah.
They beat us 4 times that year.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So it's. I mean, look, I I loved our team. I was proud of what we did. We won the games that we needed to. But I totally hear what you're saying.
Well, I think Branson beat San Domenico at Novato High School by like 30.
Yes.
And then San Domenico got rewarded with a 1 seed, like from after getting pounded by another small school.
Yeah,
I just didn't understand. I didn't get
the mystery.
So I think that's part of what they're trying to
solve.
But I don't know that if you look at the brackets now, the Open obviously is crazy. I watched Crundle at Marin Catholic yesterday.
Yeah.
Those teams are really good, but there's a few teams at the top of the division that are teetering back and forth to get in. Justin Siena, who's really good. They'll Division II at the highest, right? But those divisions are going to be really competitive. And I think that's part of what they wanted, was a competitive brackets. That was the idea. Competitive brackets all the way down the line.
Yeah.
And I think you'll get that. Like, I think those games are, for the most part, you'll get that. Like, Division I will be really, the gaps and the differences at the end of the game, the score differentials will be smaller. But Division III, currently Division III right now has 9 Division I mediocre, apologize to those Division I schools out there, but they're having mediocre seasons.
Yeah.
They're teetering at 500, not even qualified. I think right now there's 8 Division I teams or 7 Division I teams placed in the Division III bracket that aren't even qualified yet. So what does that tell you? Like, you have Division III schools and Division IV schools moving up to Division II to make it more competitive up there. But what's it doing to these lower divisions?
Yep.
You're rewarding, in my opinion, you're rewarding mediocrity with postseason play. So what are we calling it?
Yeah, and you got a team that maybe goes 6-19 somehow qualifies because they have a winning record in league, and then they get to be a 9 seed in a NCS game and a chance to win, which is great for them. But it doesn't seem fair, or that you're rewarding a body of work in a way that it seems more fair to give that team a 16 seed and let them go up against the number 1 seed, and if they pull off a miracle, great. If not, things are as
there
they
doesn't
should
seem
be,
to be any human element to it anymore, where you look at it and
common
rationale decides like Pinole Valley girls volleyball went 1-9 in league and got like an 8 seed in Division 5 and ran the table and won the section.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the rest of those teams in that league are probably like, what? So I think there will be changes coming.
Okay.
But I think most of us are hoping to have a competitive first game, but going back to the reality of like we're going to see a really difficult second round game, and we're up for it. But
sure,
with that, the other eye, we're looking at teams that we've beaten and seeing where they're placed. There's teams in our league that we've beaten already that are sitting in 3 spots in the 3 seed somewhere.
Yeah. Let's talk about Tony Butler's coaching style. The word that comes to mind is, a couple come to mind, but defense. Your teams play tough, hard-nosed defense. You have the charge chain that you give to kids who take charges.
Sacrifice.
So how do you instill that ethos into your players? How do you get them to play so hard?
I mean, listen, I was not a great defender. I was slow and average. So it's like, I don't know totally where that came from. I think it came from most likely when I got hired at Sanderfell High School, we were undermanned. Mm-hmm. And the only way we were going to stay competitive in league was to defend. Yeah. And, we took the JYD, Junkyard Dog, Tavani sort of style and ran with it. I think when I got the job, that's what I did. When I remembered all of the history of Sanderfell High School and the players that played there, and they had some super athletic teams with great athletes, but they always kind of backed into that like Junkyard Dog or sort of stuff. Those guys are my friends that were part of those teams. When we used to go to Pirate Camp and everyone would play together at Pirate Camp. Yeah. But the Sanderfell guys were always just tough because a lot of them were football players first. So they applied that style to their basketball game. And so I think when I got the job there, that was sort of like, well, this is going to have to be who we are. When you look around the league and there's 6'9", 6'10". The league was huge. There was humongous players when I first got the job, and our tallest player might have been 6'4", right? So we just had to sort of adopt the style of let's just be physical and gritty and tough and try to stay in games and be competitive as long as possible by defending. And I think if you ask the coaches that I coached against at that time, we were successul there. We didn't win a lot of games, but we weren't an easy out.
Would you always pick up full court, or would you sometimes?
No, not always. No, that was more of there was a team, a group of boys that came to Centerfell that were more sort of adept at that, and their style kind of dictated that we play faster.
Which year was this?
There was the class that graduated in 2011. Parker Shaw, Sterling Reed, Diego Camarillo, Bobby Connor. It was just a really super athletic class. They were great at football. I think we had Diego was the football player of the year. Bobby was the soccer player of the year. We just had Will White. We had a kid named Will White who broke his ankle both ankles the same way. Okay. You would know that technically the back, not the normal way that you roll an ankle, the other way.
Yeah. That's how my son broke his ankle.
Yeah, one time it was a kid diving into his leg. The other it was contact injury both times, just freak injuries, and it was too bad. But Will ended up pitching in the minor leagues for the Marlins. Went through Stevie Berger at College of Marin. So it was just a super athletic group. Bobby went on to play soccer at St. Mary's, and I think Diego's helping out with the football team now. But super athletic team, so it just made sense for me to kind of let them go a little bit, and that was a tough group of boys. Like they weren't always easy to coach. They weren't always easy off the court, but they were competitive. They were definitively junkyard dogs, right?
Well, so that ethos has continued. I mean, like just my personal observation, like I coach club basketball. I know I coached MBBA last spring and summer, and there were a few San Marin girls in the gym, and I remember the first couple days of practice, I'm watching, Angela and Quincy and these kids. I'm like, oh, those are San Marin kids. Yeah. I mean, just even in our scrimmage, Angela's taking a charge, and diving on the floor, and just this commitment to defense and playing hard every possession.
Yeah, I mean, I think when coaches take over, when you take over a program, you go in with a plan on what your culture is going to look like and what it's going to be, and to be totally honest, like I don't consider myself this elite skill builder in terms of I'm gonna create bucket getters. That's not really my forte.
Yeah.
More of I think my strengths are more in the human element and trying to get people to just be their best version of themselves. And I think that's actually easier on the defensive end. I think some of it also is, as a boys coach, especially in MCAL, you spend a lot of time watching girls basketball because you're standing there waiting for the girls game to end. So, you typically stand around with other coaches, oftentimes coaches for both teams, when you're waiting there by the side of the court for your opportunity to take the floor. So there's a lot of discussion. There was a lot of discussions at that time about what I would do if I coached girls basketball, right? And so at Centerfell, the girls basketball program wasn't all that strong. We weren't very strong the whole time, but I spent a lot of time watching, saying if I was coaching girls, and this is before I had daughters, this is what I think I would do to be more successful.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's like, teach both hands, make layups, make free throws, and stop fouling, right? Because there's just a lot of fouling happens, and you give points away that way. So I took that and I just sort of flipped it and said, all right, well, if we're going to do this, then let's become better defenders. Let's stop fouling and giving free points away. And a lot of these opponents we're playing aren't real skilled bucket getters, so let's be smart about how we make life more miserable for them by forcing them one direction or just taking away strengths and seeing what they can do. So the girls tend to buy into that because the proof is there. They might not be great bucket getters, but they have a lot of success being able to stop someone else, and then you create transition. And because I wasn't great at creating, I never have been great at creating bucket getters per se, I always looked at it like, well, we need to score in transition. How else are we going to create offense?
Get easy baskets.
And so let's get easy baskets. And so that starts with defense and trying to get out and looking at those points in transition. It's great. All these services now, they can tell you where you're getting your points and where they're coming from, and points in transition is a big one for us. And seeing, when I had Keely and Layla and that group, that was, there'd be nights where we couldn't throw it in the ocean, but we would still score 48 points because those two and a couple other girls, Selena Ruano, girls like that, could get out and just get layups.
So about making layups, it's obviously critical for the girls, but also for the boys. I mean, our team's missed a lot of layups this year. How do you teach that in practice? What are your different techniques? Are you slam 2 feet and go up, or are you like contact when you're doing layup?
We stole it from, we do finishing school, is what we call it, and we stole that from, I believe it was Doug Novak. And it's boring as all could be, but it starts with basically no dribble, one player under the basket, one player on the nail, and you just, they jog to the basket and you toss to the outside hand, and they go up and you run through the gamut of off left foot, right hand, right foot, right hand, stride stops, tuck in her shoulder, finish outside hand, and we go through all of that and we do it into the season. And the girls roll their eyes, but they also get to watch film of themselves smoking layups left and right, so they know they need to do it. We do what we call blinds, where we take a player and and there's different ways to create constraints within this kind of drill, and I'm sure you guys do similar things, where you take a player and turn their back to the basket, turn their back to the player with the ball facing the basket, put the ball in their back.
Yep.
And when they pull the ball off their back, it's live, and you have the advantage because you know where you're going.
Yep.
And you could constrain your defender by saying, don't foul, or hey, you free license to throw them into the wall, right? Forcing contact, things like that. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff and build off of it.
Great.
Say like 1v1 blind or 2v1 blind. So you're playing 1v1 blind, but you put a player in the corner. So if you can't shoot, you get to kick it.
Right.
We really stress playing off of 2 feet, just because so many turnovers and come off of players making decisions on the run and leaving their feet. We allow players to make jump passes, but they're only allowed to do that if they've made that decision before they left their feet. So they can't leave their feet and then decide where they're going to go with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they need to jump to make the pass to get it there, then go for it. But don't leave your feet and then figure it out, right? And even then, that's a slippery slope, right? Because the individual will tell you, like, I knew she was open over there, but they've already left their feet and corner help is returned.
Do you film your practices?
Sometimes. Sometimes I just forget.
Yeah.
Sometimes I actually last week stopped practice in the middle and got my phone out and turned the camera on because I wasn't happy with the level of defense, and you can feel the mood change, like, oh, he's, they all know who it is. They know who it is, and it's a roundabout way to sort of get them to pick up their intensity a little bit without having to single out, hey Dave, you're half-assing practice today.
Very true.
Right.
So, do you change your defensive style based on your opponent, or do you say, all right, this is who we are, this is our identity, we're going to just stay us?
I think I'm doing that more now, just based on personnel.
Yeah.
When I had a couple of years ago, when we had a bunch of talent, we could get away with just saying this is how we do things and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Now we have to look at personnel here and there, so we'll guard ball screens differently depending on who the opponent is.
Yeah.
But we have staples. This is what we're going to do. We're most likely going to press you regardless of who you have.
Yeah.
We're going to try to speed you up. We're not the type to run back and play half court man-to-man defense. I think it's boring to start with, and the kids get bored of that, right? Like the game is you're meant to run up and down the floor, and I think that's a positive trend for the game, that you're seeing more open play. I think there's some detriment to that too. Sometimes it's hard to watch the freedom that some players get, and then when you try to get them under wraps a little bit, there's pushback. I think that's hard for coaches, and how the game's being played now. But we're like Duff said, he saw us play zone against Archie. We're playing a little more zone this year. We used to play some 2-3 as just a mix-up, change of pace, but now we're leaning into the 1-3-1 a little more. Like I said, shout out to Reed Nottingham, who been pushing me for years to do that, and it's been good for us. I've got some girls that are fit in certain spots that make it good, and the girls have enjoyed it and they like it. So
a really good zone is very effective. There's an assumption, I think, with some kids, maybe the younger kids, that all right, we're playing zone. Okay, now I can rest a little bit, and that's not the good zones, like Ashley Saez and KK's 1-3-1.
Yeah.
The good zones are really active, and you're accountable for a player.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving in, and it's not a rest. It's just a different look.
Yeah, I think I would never start with zone, and that's a whole nother conversation about club coaches and CYO coaches and youth coaches coaching zone. I will never back off that conversation that you are hurting those players.
We are all in agreement.
Yeah, but there's plenty. You go out of the forums and there are plenty of coaches who firmly believe that you're teaching, that they believe that they're teaching their kids to better guard another human being in zone than they are by man, and I think that's just a statement to their ability to coach. I don't think that's they just don't know how to coach it, and they should go teach them. They should go learn. Right.
So I think the 1-3-1 is the most dependent on personnel of any half-court zone.
Yeah.
So walk us through how you choose who's playing where in your 1-3-1 zone.
I will say that part of the reason we put in the 1-3-1, it was twofold. Number one, the personnel that we have now, we have some length at certain positions and some speed at another that I think works well. But the credit all goes to Ashley, because watching
Ashley Saya.
Ashley, watching them lean on their 1-3-1, and then their man is basically matchup. They switch everything for the most part, and those girls, they're through that dynasty, they just had girls that just understood it, right? They could plop them in, and it was just really difficult to score. So part of the reason we decided to put it in was to play against it, because we couldn't duplicate it at practice. So I said we might as well get good at it so that at least we're playing against it at practice. Yeah. And even now, like zone still, I hate it at practice because the level of intensity of practice comes down.
Right.
When you're not having to match up with somebody and go mano a mano, there's just a little bit of the lack of intensity comes down. You got to be really focused and pick and choose your moments how you do it and go in and into it and go out of it. But no, I have. The main thing is I have one particular player, Brianna Nottingham, who's really long. She's a volleyball player, and she just creates problems at the top of the top. And she could probably do the same thing at the wing, but we found that she's been most successful at the top.
She's got the motor to go back and forth.
Yeah, and she doesn't always have to. She's long enough to where
she can be disruptive.
She can just be disruptive without having to be up against somebody because and
then your speed, you put your speed in the back.
Yeah, we put our speed in the back. We've got 3 girls, I think, that can all play there, and it's conducive to their not only just their speed but their personalities. They just like to go and not have to think as much. So it's just pretty much like don't give up baseline, drop the corner, and bzz, back and forth, and so. That works. And everybody else is sort of, you could fill them in. We do have longer players, and we're finding, by not coincidence, but like sometimes somebody ends up at a spot, and you're like, ooh, that actually might work here and there, right? You don't necessarily need the biggest player in the middle. You need a smart player there. Somebody's willing to be physical, because rebounding out of the zone is the biggest challenge, right? So you might be doing a great job and get them to take a tough shot, but you're weak on the backside, and you're one of your smallest players or somebody on the backside trying to rebound over 6'8" Kate, so it's just like it's not easy.
Yep. Especially with the boys, it seems like you want to put like a really fast, strong guard at the bottom to go corner to corner. But if you're playing a big team, and if they can lob it over the top, or that you're just going corner to corner, and then you don't have people, the rest of the 3 drop down to rebound, like you're going to get crushed on the board. So we've had limited success with our 1-3-1, I would say.
A couple years ago, we ran it a bit. With Fulton, and we would find that the weak side wing would forget to drop.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And that would be very frustrating. So if the ball's on the right wing, the left wing in the zone needs to drop to the opposite block because that's where you're exposed.
Yeah, and because they start to, the certain personalities start to peek across the way and say, I'm going to steal the lob from slot to slot.
Exactly.
And they forget and don't drop. And, like Zach made some nice adjustments on Tuesday. It created some problems for us. And, we'll go back to the drawing board and figure out how to deal with that if we want to run it again. But, you're not fooling anybody.
Right.
Like, I laugh at people that don't want to share their film. Like, I'll put it out there. If you want my games, just send me a message through Huddle. I'll send you whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, Tavani was Brett was real big on this. He'd come to the MCAL meetings and say, what the hell are we doing? Not sharing film with each other. Like, we're all trying to extend our careers. You really want to force us to go to a 7:30 game on a Monday night so that we can see each other? It's like, come on. Like, we live in the technology age where every college basketball game is on TV. Why are we not just joining the group and sharing so that we're all on the same page? Like, if you want the eye test, go to the game, but share. So I.
Is Redwood the only school that deletes their film immediately after the game's over?
It's not deleted. I think our film guy does the same thing. When you do the settings through NFHS, it'll just turn off the next day or black it out. So I think ours do the same thing, and I should probably do something to turn it back on. But honestly, if you're listening and you want my games, just text me. I will share my games. I'm
the same. I never say no to a request. And so to our listeners who maybe aren't familiar, there are different services, but the one that a lot of people use is Huddle, HUDL. And I can go, all right, we're playing Pinewood next week, right? At some point this week, I'm gonna send.
You are actually playing that game?
We are playing Pinewood.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I watched them dismantle Alameda last night.
Yeah, the Vegas line is 45.5, and I think they're going to cover.
Keep the clock. Like, if you can get to a point where the clock doesn't run.
Where the clock doesn't run. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it's a 40-point game going into the fourth quarter, the clock runs. So that's our goal, is to not have the clock run. But at some point, I'm going to text Doc and say, hey, shoot me your last couple games on Huddle, right? And sometimes coaches ignore it, and sometimes they say, absolutely, here you go.
So I could give you a scouting report. They're going to guard you full court, and they're
going to dribble drive,
coached, and they're going to
shoot threes.
Yeah, and they're going to backdoor you, and they're going to be bigger than you at most positions, and
they're going to kill us.
They're not huge, but they're highly talented.
Okay, walk us through a typical Coach Tony Butler practice.
Oh boy.
I guess it depends on what time of year, right? So
yeah, I mean, like right now we're not practicing a ton, right? Because
same with us.
It's hard to come up with interesting practice plans in January where the girls are going to get excited. We spend more time in the team room probably watching film and giving out stat stickers. We do stat stickers as kind of incentives for our players.
What are those?
We're really fond of our locker room. We spend a lot of time there, and we give out stat stickers that girls put on their lockers. So we have a whole point system. So either 10 points or the leading scorer, you get a scoring sticker, right? But we don't try to celebrate those so much. It's not the scoring. It's the defensive. So if you get to 3 defensive stats, so like 2 deflections and a steal, you get 1 sticker.
That's cool.
3 assists, you get an assist sticker. We have charge stickers. We have rebound sticker, 5 rebounds. So we really try to encourage the non-skill. Well, rebounding is a skill, but the ones that you can go be selfish, right? Like you can be selfish by being unselfish and giving up the ball for assists. You can be selfish by getting hands on balls and getting on loose balls for steals and rebounds. So we encourage those. So, like Keely had like 2 lockers. Keely and Layla had like 2 lockers worth of stickers. So we having to rethink.
Both college players.
Yeah, Quincy's doing the same thing. Quincy's, she's like, Coach, I got a double. Okay, here's another sticker. Here's another. Yeah, so it creates that sort of thing. So we're spending more time in there, just being together and watching basketball and talking about last night's performance and watching the next performance. And then we trying to shoot a ton. Yeah. Because newsflash, we don't shoot the ball well. So we try to shoot a lot, but I start to get worried about injuries at this time of the year because we don't have the we don't have the depth to lose somebody to a rolled ankle at practice. The boys had a rolled ankle at practice the other day, and I saw the boy at the Terralinda game, and he's in street clothes, and you have to practice, right? You have to practice. You have to continue getting better, especially if returning players that you need to take advantage of that time, and then maybe there's boys or girls that don't get to play in games, so that is their experience. That part's a challenge. Those kids tend to fall out of shape too. Like you have a kid who doesn't play a lot of game minutes, and then you put him in a situation like you're up 20 or down 20, and they get to play extended minutes and they're dying.
Right.
And that's my fault because I'm not getting them in shape to play. So, and it's not the college level, and I guess soccer does a good job. Those boys go out and you see the soccer team, the game's over, and the kids in the pennies are out there on the field doing liners.
Right.
I don't have the guts to do that to a kid, to be like, hey, go down to the small gym and play for 15 minutes. But that would be the smart thing to do, right? Like, to make sure your kids are in good shape and ready to go if they're needed, they should be in shape. And I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah, I'm dealing with the same stuff. Scared about injuries, particularly the players who are getting a lot of minutes. I think we have a similar situation where not a ton of depth. And so managing practices, being competitive and preparing them, but not risking injury or also they're worn down by this time of the year.
Yeah,
right?
and kids get hurt when they're not competitive, right? It's not when they're competitive.
Exactly.
When they're going full speed, people go through each other and fall normally. It's when it's not very competitive and you're having to beg them to block out and rebound when you're running through stuff, whether it's shell or whatever, because there's somebody standing under the basket not blocking out and they're flat-footed.
Yeah.
And then you see that and you're like, whoa, like Susie's going to come down on Jenny's foot because she's not, we're going to blow an ankle and lose whatever, and that's always creeps into my mind.
What are your thoughts about, I've heard some different perspectives on this, blocks of time off during the season? For example, Renee Ayala, who's a great soccer coach at boys varsity for Archie, he apparently gives the kids the entire winter break off. Doesn't schedule practices or games, or at least most of it. A couple weeks off, come back, reset, start playing again. I've heard others say like weekends off. At this point in the season, Sunday's going to be off regardless, but Saturday's off as well. You limit your practice timing, but that Monday practice becomes a lot more intentional if you're not practicing on Saturday. So we're starting to think about how we might do things differently because we've been essentially doing 6 days a week since October, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't practice yesterday. It was our first Saturday of the month off. I told the girls that enjoy the day off, get stressed, take care of your body. We talk, we do all that. We talk about that a lot. Talk about how you behave as an athlete and the commitment you make to one another during the season and especially this time of the year. And I told the girls, I said, look, there's no practice tomorrow, but I'm going to go to the Marin Catholic Carondelet game. Be great to see you there. I'll be there, but it's optional. And it ended up being just Delaney and I. So that said a lot to me. Some of them were watching it at home on NFHS, but it said a lot to me that they just need it, right?
Yeah.
Like they need the time away from it, away from me and each other, and just to have a regular Saturday for a teenager.
Yeah.
But that goes back into the discussion of the schedule, because the schedule has forced us to play on Saturdays to get all of our games in. And I think that'll come up in the meeting next week in terms of how our people are scheduling. But that was short. I thought it was short-sighted when we chose to go to single. When they went single round robin, one of the arguments was we were playing too many games in January. That we were playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to get all the games in. I think that was a double round robin issue. So then one of the arguments was, well, if we go back to single round robin and you play Tuesday, Friday, that'll be better for the student athlete. They'll have less time at games and more time to practice and be students. But what we're finding is that in order to get those 18 non-league games in, you're having to schedule on Saturdays in the league.
Right.
So now instead of having a day off between games, you're playing Friday and Saturday.
Back-to-backs.
Yeah, so you have no time to really game plan for these non-league games. And these kids are zapped. And if you go deep into a game, competitive MCAL league game on Friday night, your ability to really compete on Saturday is hampered, right? So if we go back to the single robin, I'm going to look at who we play on Saturdays next year much differently. I'm going to try to schedule in a way that doesn't stress the kids. And we've been fortunate to kind of have some of that. We played Dublin at their place, and that was a really competitive game.
Great win for you guys.
Yeah, that we were able to win. But you could see in the first and second quarter that we we had played, I think, Branson the night before.
Yeah.
That was a big game. We weren't totally engaged. It was a quiet gym, So I think those go together. So I guess to answer your question, I would take more Saturdays off if I could.
Yeah.
Just part of that is also I'm a parent now, and my daughter's on the team, so I can see how she's living her life and how she reacts to practice on a Saturday, and and you want them to be excited to be there, and they all love being around each other, but they're human, and you want them to.
She's not dragging you out of bed at 6 a.m. Sunday morning to watch film.
No.
Tony,
and my daughter watches more film than probably anybody on the team.
Yeah.
But she's definitely not doing that. I'm trying to explain to them the whole, and you're the doctor, but the rest is not like filling your cup with water. We're like, if you stay up till 4 a.m. one night, you can't sleep until noon the next day, and that fills the cup of energy. It doesn't really work that way.
Right.
That your body is a creature of habit, and your body needs to be rested at the right times and know when it needs to be rested. So that part, that's up to them,
So you build this great culture at San Marin. You can see it. How do you cultivate that culture? And by that I mean, are you doing activities outside of basketball with your team? Are you texting them stuff, links, videos, whatever, inspirational things? Like, what else do you do to kind of build this team culture? Because you guys seem to have such a cohesive group, and I think that comes from you as the leader of that group.
Yeah, I think that's sort of a multi-pronged answer. I think coaching now I've had the fortune to coach in my teaching community as well as my home life community, and I think being that I'm coaching now in the community in which I live in is a part of it. So I've known a lot of these people since they were little. I coached rec soccer, rec softball, and so I've been involved with a lot of the families and the kids outside of basketball.
Yeah.
So I think there is a little bit of that involved in the terms of like the families and the kids know you're from their community and their neighborhood. That goes a long way, and I think that's one of the strengths of the San Marin community is they're wholeheartedly pro youth sports, and that goes a long way. It matters to your persona, but also like who you are as a person. Like it just kind of taught, like there's good a lot of the former athletes from the area go back and coach, and so there's a lot of that. So it's already kind of intrinsically there within the community, but I'm a firm believer that the coaching it's not the competitive part's great, and we all coach because we want to compete and we love the game that we're coaching and we love the moment like the whistle blows or the ball goes up. But the best coaches are also people, and it's about the relationships and the buzzwords. What are they? Transformational versus transactional. And I'm just a firm believer that like if you're coaching in a way you're trying to transform these young people into better people first before winning any kind of games, then you're going to be successful in creating a culture in which people care about each other and trust each other.
That's great.
Because it starts with trust, right? Like if they believe that you care about them as people, then they'll run through walls. And so I think we've been successful at doing that. I've had great coaches with me, Amanda for 5 years, and then Katie Christensen, Katie Young too. Like they just trust these people because they are able to translate how much they care.
Yeah.
We got rid of goals a few years ago, and we now, a lot of this it's all stolen. We're all great thieves, but it's more, we coach more towards standards than we do towards goals, because we found we were setting goals and getting to championships and then getting our asses whooped in those championships. It's like, yay, we made the championship of the Sonoma Classic, and then lose by 30 to Montgomery for the second straight year, and are like, we've got to the North Coast Section Championship, and the game was over in 3 minutes. It was just like, we're here. We got rid of the whole goal setting. We still have some personal goal stuff, but we really talk about standards, and we have those posted all over our team room and our walls, and just try to emphasize playing to certain standards and then letting the chips fall where they may. Can we leave that night saying, hey, we did everything we could to live by those, and whatever happens. And there's been plenty of times where we've lost, and been celebrating in the locker room because we were like, oh, we were so good with our standards tonight, and we almost beat a really good team.
Yeah.
And we didn't get over, but man, we feel good about how we represented our own standards and our own beliefs.
That's great. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that matters, because then kids leave and they want to come back. They want to come back to the group, they want to come back and be around each other in the off season, in the summer, and they just want to be around each other because they're all connected in that way. It's not like, hey, there's Johnny Bellhog over there who's going to take 25% of the shots and we'll win games, but he'll get the credit and whatever. There's a lot of sharing of credit and a lot of sharing of success that way, in the sense that it takes everybody to hit those standards, because you can't win with one player being really great. Well, maybe you can, but I've never had that player.
Yeah.
Well, Dave's trying.
I don't know what you're talking about. Who
But
are
it
your-
takes, listen,
Yeah.
I've known you long enough to see what you've done with the girls you've coached and the way that they follow you, and it's very much the same. You and I are very much alike in that sense, and I think it would have been easy for you to go into San Domenico and say, listen, we're just going to set ball screen after ball screen, and when Carly is on, we're going to be really good, and when she's not, well, forget it. Clearly, something like your messaging has taken effect because you started slower while you tried to figure out how you were going to be successful, and it's working because you're winning now, and your team and the girls that might not have been known before your season started are helping you win games, and I think that's your culture, man. I think that's awesome.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I just want everybody to think about being a superstar in their role.
Yeah, that's I heard that. I heard that at a coaching clinic once. Make it big time was the quote, right? Like, so no matter where you are, you make your program Duke University. And so I've always sort of tried to do that. Like, hey, like, we do all these things that the elite programs do. So why can't we be the best version of ourselves in our little corner of town that does the same things they do? So we do a lot of that kind of stuff, like we spend $12,000 a year on gear, walk around in Jordan and Nike gear, and we earn all of it.
Yeah.
Like we run camp. We had 90 girls at camp last year, and every one of my camp counselors, they're volunteers, they're running the program, and they beg, like, they do, I don't say beg because some of them would be like, yeah, right, coach, but they do want to come back and do it. They love doing it. And at the beginning of camp, when we say, how many coaches came to camp? And there's 24 coaches back there. 22 of them raise their hand. It's a direct pipeline to our own culture. So
that's great.
They walk in with this idea of like, this is what this is about. So that part's fun.
Who are your influences? I mean, you could talk about mentors. I assume obviously Pete played for Pete Hayward, legend. But so interested in who your mentors have been, but then also who do you look at in the college game, other high schools, the pro game? Let's start with coaches. Who do you admire?
Who do I admire now when I watch them play?
Yeah.
Probably the same guys you do. I like to watch the coaches that coach with emotion and get their teams to play the hardest.
Yeah.
Without necessarily having all the best talent. So like you could say, like, I enjoy watching Danny Hurley coach, but he and I are different in many ways. And you might watch me coach and say, no, you coach just like him sometimes.
Do you berate referees? Do you berate referees? Like
My first year, I thought I had a voice, and I realized soon thereafter my voice had no impact on what was happening. Plus, I was surrounded by all the elite coaches that are the Mount Rushmore of Marin County coaches, so I was never going to win that fight on any night. We're a forced corner defense, but Tony Bennett built his programs on Frank Martin's, Villanova basketball. Those are kind of where I look to in my coaching career. When I was going to school at University of Arizona, I would sneak in. I lived in the football stadium. I decided to go to school there at the last minute, so I didn't get in the co-ed dorm. It was all male in the football stadium. People always ask me, what was it like during the game? And I don't know. I was in the game. I wasn't stupid enough to sit in my dorm, but I was in the stadium, so I was right there next to all the athletic facilities, and I would spend 4 hours a day in the rec center playing basketball with all of the guys would come over and play there. The girls teams, the boys team, Damon Stoudemire, Clyde Reeves, Michael Dickerson. So I'd get to play against these guys, just in rec games and see kind of what that looked like. But me and my roommate would sneak in to the MCAL Center and just watch practices and get to see Lute Olson run practices. And Lute was great, but you realize right away when you see a college practice, like because you've been there, that the head coach only does so much coaching, right? Like there's all these other people there that are holding everyone accountable, and there's there's like 0 second of like stepping back and chilling out as a player. It's just go, go, go. Yeah. But just getting to watch that practice environment, and then I think I missed 2 games in 4 years when I was going to school there. So I would skip spring break to stay for like the local regional NCAA tournament. I got to see the Fab Five. So I still, even though I wasn't planning to get into coaching at that time, I was still entrenched in basketball. So Lute, obviously, I've got. When my wife forced me to go introduce myself to him at a game when we went back to an alumni game, and I went and I shook his hand, and we sat for a little bit, and he asked me questions like, "Where do you coach? Do you have a 6'9" guy that we could have?" And it was great. So
that's awesome.
It was but a lot of my influences are probably the same as yours because we all went to the same camp, and that all starts with Pirate Camp. Yep. It all started there. I did it, but Pete was ahead of his time in terms of how to play the game, like flex all day and all the same things that you've heard. I'm not going to repeat, because all these guys that were much better basketball players than me, they got him in his heyday. I got him on his way out, and Doug was getting ready to take over. But we played loose. My team. We were definitely ahead of the curve. We would take 28 threes a game. We can get an offensive rebound and have a layup and go whoop and throw it out because we had guys that could just shoot it. Rob Beckerly, Bradley Bush, Ace Thalen. Like Craig Snyder. We could shoot it. So we would do, and that was new at the time. It wasn't. People were shooting threes, but not as much as we were.
So you weren't hunting them. Yeah, they weren't hunting them.
We were small, and we were all back then. We were all scrawny and small. Like the weight room must have been locked or something.
So the Ace Thalen, that name. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he injured an ankle in a post-game celebration.
You nailed it. That is 100% it. That was the best game of my career.
But a cautionary tale, kids. After you win a big game and you're celebrating on the floor, please don't sprain an ankle.
He hit a buzzer beater, or he hit a jump shot from the free throw line with 2 seconds to go to beat Marin Catholic to pull us even in league at 13-1 or whatever in the last week or so of the season. And when the buzzer sounded, I think Marin Catholic, they had a Russian transfer, Blaj, I remember, big kid. And he missed a shot at the buzzer, and Ace ran and tried to grab the rim like he could grab the rim. Came down and broke his foot. So we lost him for several weeks. We ended up getting him back in the state tournament, I think it was. But there was a lot. People loved Ace. He was a unique.
I remember playing against Ace. Ace was awesome.
Yeah, he was. He was like a miniature next version of Paul Trevor, right? Like he was definitely from that mold of just you're gonna know I'm here. And I remember when we went to Santa Fe, they had created this big poster on the wall, like wishing him well and coming back. Yeah.
All right, Tony, what are your favorite drills? Let's nerd out.
Oh boy.
Give us your favorite shooting drill. You said you guys do a lot of shooting. What's your favorite shooting drill?
Right now, let's see. What are we doing right now? We have everything's stolen.
Of course.
Right now, we're doing a drill called 32 a lot, where you shoot from the corner, or you shoot 5 spots, mid 3-point line, 2-point, 1-point. So three shots from the 5 spots. Each is worth
3, 2, 1?
Yeah, and then you shoot 2 free throws at the end. So you end up with 32 out of 32 would be the best you could get. Okay. So we're doing a lot of that and tracking our scores. We haven't done it as much lately because we're doing a lot more shooting in places where we think we're getting shots in games. And I believe more in that. So We do some stationary shooting. I don't know that it's necessarily the most effective way to do things, but in the past we've done a lot of just driving, kicking, because that's what we're really trying to get in games. So we're just doing a lot of like that kind of shooting out of actions. So whether it's like a start with a dribble handoff and get to the paint and kick out, like just because like that, I think that's it. But there's other games, 555, duck hunting. There's all kinds of games that we play because the kids want to stay interested. In that. So, we try to race the clock. If you need to make it competitive, or else they'll just chuck up bombs, that sort of thing. The challenge that I find in shooting competition is that you have players on your team that will never shoot threes. So how do you alter the game? If you guys have answers, how do you alter these shooting
So I've been
drills?
doing one. I've been doing one that it's kind of similar to what you're doing, but it's a full court drill. So I break them up into groups of 3, and one team have somebody at half court, somebody on the baseline, somebody on the other baseline, and they're kind of in a vertical line. Okay, and 1 ball per team. So the kid at half court starts, goes towards one of the baskets, and she can shoot a 3, a mid-range, or a layup.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. She shoots her teammate under the basket, gets the rebound, and goes down to the other end of the floor.
Oh.
So it's a continuous 3-player drill, but each player can choose: do I want to shoot a 3, a mid-range for 2, or a layup for 1?
And you have like I guess 4 groups at the same time.
You could have 2 or 3 groups going at the same time, so it's kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
But basically say, okay, first team to 30 points.
Oh.
And we run it, and the kids like it, but it helps so our post players who are never going to shoot threes,
they can choose.
They can shoot the mid range, or they can go shoot a layup, and then I got Carly and Sana, my 3-point shooters, just bombing threes.
4-point plays, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they're for the 4-point plays.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use that.
We've done it similar with our sort of adult league shoot-arounds, where you can do it with a group of 2, and the same person goes back and forth, so they get 2 shots.
Yeah, you go up and back.
And so, you take a layup the first time,
Right.
1 point, you come back, you shoot a 3, now you got 4 points, next person goes. That's a good workout, and it's also like, all right, if you're taking a 3, that's a pressure shot.
It's a risk reward.
Yeah.
Risk reward situation.
Yeah, we do that out of Olympic shooting. We'll put the time up and say you guys got to get to 52 total points or 72 total points.
Yeah.
If you know what Olympic shooting is, it's full
Yeah.
court shooting. Yeah, right. So we do that. We put a score up, but we'll say for the first minute and a half you can't shoot inside the paint, and then you can't shoot. Then you can't shoot threes or whatever. And then depending on where the score is, you send them some rope and say, all right, you can shoot threes now, or you can shoot layups, and they go racing down shooting layups, and their balls are bouncing off each other's.
Okay, how about non-shooting drill? Like, what's another favorite drill of yours?
Favorite non-shooting drill. I love we do labs drill, the build up, the progressions that he talked about. We haven't done it in a few weeks. We do these Texas 111 drills, which I think it's a great drill to teach your kids to transition from offense to defense. So put a player on the baseline, put a player on the nail, and put a player at half court. The player on the nail is alone. Player on the baseline and the player at half court are on the same team. Player on the baseline is the trailer. Player at half court has the ball. They throw solid chest pass to the player at the free throw line, and you're playing 1-on-1 towards the basket.
With a wolf.
Yeah, with the wolf who's coming. If the player on offense scores, the player that was the trailer is the automatic inbounder.
Okay.
And you must turn around and immediately deny. The player that was on defense now becomes offense. You can't throw an over the head pass. It's got to be get up the floor, come back to the ball. And we tweak it where if you score, then the player that inbounds is out. So then after they inbound it, you're just playing 1-on-1 the other way. And then if you don't score, you turn it over, you miss, they rebound, they play 2-on-1 back the other way. So you're teaching them to have to figure out where do I got to get to where I can guard both of them and still have a chance, 2v1. And then you can add to the drill and say Texas 22. So you put 2 on the nail, 2 on the elbows, 2 at half court, and now you're going 2-on-3, then 3-on-4, and
Cool.
Go all the way back. So it works in terms of transition there. But this time of year we're working more on nuts and bolts than we are, which is another discussion, right?
Duff, anything before we reach crunch time?
I saw that you have quite a few crunch time questions, so I think this crunch time could be very crunchy. So let's get to crunch time.
Okay, Tony. Favorite gym in Marin?
I mean, that's silly. Of course, it's Pete's Palace. Yeah.
The Archie Williams.
Archie Williams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
Too many
concur.
good memories there. Too many great memories there. Yeah. Yeah. Too many pirate camps with Lab and Jimmy and
Yep.
those guys. I grew up 2 houses down from Jimmy, so they're my pedigree. Chasing balls down the. I don't know if you've ever been to their house before, but they had
The Sias.
Yes, they had that basketball hoop with the
Yeah.
steep cliff down to the neighbor's house, and myself and Matt Smallback, we would be tasked with going to get the balls that would bounce over and down the cliff, right? Just to be able to hang out with all those guys.
Shout out Matt Smallback. Go to stateroom.
I just heard an ESPN alert on your phone, right? Is LeBron been traded to the Warriors? Do we?
Is that what I was wondering? If that was maybe it says LeBron is actually intending to stay with the Lakers.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay,
That crossed
Tony.
my mind that there might be one more trade coming.
All right. Best player you ever played against?
Best player that I ever played against.
How about Marin? Best Marin player you played against?
Jeez. Well, I could throw shouts to best player Mike Ravelli. Mike was
It was awesome.
Mike was just I think I remember my first summer, sophomore year. Drake Summerlee was the best, right?
Yeah.
You'd get to play games against all the local teams. Newman would come down, and they were always, we hated them more than we hated Marin Catholic, right? And I just remember my first summer, freshman year, going into my sophomore year, running through the paint, just innocent as could be, and just sharp elbow to the sternum. And it was Mike. It was Mike. And, he was just letting people know that, this is our paint and that sort of thing. And so I just watched him play a lot differently than everybody else. And those teams were loaded. I mean, those teams were, Dave and Zonk and all those teams were David Moore. Those teams were really, really good. But Mike sort of just, he was scary there. My senior year, Rob Beckerly was a sniper.
Yeah.
John Benassini, loved Benny.
Marin Catholic.
Feathery touch. Just, Damian Morgan. I saw Damian at the game yesterday. Damian probably had the most well-rounded tool set out of all the guys in the league, and that's why he ended up player of the year. I think there's some arguments there that MC voted for him and we voted for him, just so we'd have to vote for each other's player. But
best player you've coached against?
Best player that I've coached against.
Let's go boys and girls.
Boys side. Toughest player to coach against had to be Stuart Wasonga.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing you could do to just combat him, right? Like he was an NBA Live
Marin
character, right?
Yeah.
He just didn't matter kind of what you did there. He was going to impact the game with his length and his style of play. So he was most definitely the toughest to go against.
And how about girls?
On the girls' side, it'd be easy to say. Grayson had the best sort of career across the way.
Grayson Levette.
Her and Hannah were so. It's hard for me to give Hannah all the props because she lived a 9-iron shot from the school, and it's like
Hannah Golan played at Branson and is doing great at Point Loma Nazarene. I keep seeing clips of her.
They're different, right?
Yeah.
Like I think what set Grayson apart a little bit from Hannah was Grayson was an elite defender. At the same time, Hannah I think had to reserve some energy here and there just to be able to score 30 on a given night. But her junior year, I think she scored 30 in like 5 of 8 games down the stretch, and that was didn't matter what you did. We had success against them, but having to watch film on her all the time was
It put Grayson at the bottom of that 1-3-1, right? She was just tearing back and forth. Just great instinct.
Such a competitor, man. She was so. I would take I've mentioned this. I'd take my daughter's CYO team to watch Marin Catholic games because I just wanted them to watch Grayson. When I talk about playing hard, that's what I mean.
Yep. I only got to coach against Carly 2 years, so there was there wasn't a lot of disappointment when she decided to leave. So I didn't get to coach against her when she was really hitting her stride.
She's pretty good.
Real quickly, so I think I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again. So my daughter played CYO with Grayson, And my daughter Haley was sort of at the end of the bench. She was kind of playing basketball more for dad than anything else. But I would say to her, it's like, just if you want to learn the game, just watch Grayson. Just watch what she does.
Yeah.
And she would be like, stop it, Dad. Stop telling me that.
It'd be interesting to ask Grayson about her CYO experience, because I know that the St. Anthony's group with Keely and Layla and Hannah, like they didn't lose a game, I think, for 8 years. Yeah. But it was always Grayson St. Anselm's teams against them in the championship. Yeah. And I think that experience probably really helped Grayson in terms of like having to, and I'm sure I didn't know who they were. I'm sure she had some teammates that could play as well that ended up at Marin Catholic and Drake and whatever, or Archie. But I used to go watch those games, and it was like Grayson versus like the future MCAL first team.
Right.
Was,
those teams were really good.
So those games were really competitive, and she'll probably tell you, that went a long way towards tuning her game and where she needed to be and what she needed to do.
It is really fun to see CYO games and then watch those kids as they play in high school. And it's funny, we played Marin Catholic a couple weeks ago, and Brooke Spagnolo, who's great, plays for Marin Catholic, plays for KK. Mm-hmm. I mean, I coached against Brooke, so did you, right?
I've coached her.
Right.
Yeah.
And coached against her for, since fourth grade. And St. Pat's, they would always kill us, beat us in the championship. Mm-hmm. And then here she was at Marin Catholic getting buckets against me. I'm like, dude, Brooke.
Yeah,
stop.
She's arguably the most improved player in the league.
She's incredible.
But she's not even diverting all of her attention to the sport.
Right, she's a really good lacrosse player. Yeah. But it's just it's rewarding to see these CYO kids as they grow older, and now they're gracing the courts of the high school courts. It's really cool. All right, Tony, favorite player ever?
Favorite? Well, that's easy. My friends would kill me if I didn't say it, because my room was my temple to Dominique Wilkins.
Ooh, Neek? The human highlight reel.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was a 2-footed jumper, not only because I was vertically challenged, and that was my way of seeing if I could get an extra inch out of my vert, but...
we played together, similar game, you and Dominique.
Yeah. Power, lift.
My friend is a Celtics fan, and the Celtics were playing the Hawks, and Wilkins did a dunk, and the Celtics announcer said, Dominique Magnifique. And we still, to this day, that was 30 years ago, we'll text each other, Dominique Magnifique.
Well, there was I'm not sure what year it was, but there was one of the best games ever playoff games ever was the Dominique versus Bird, and they both went for over 50.
That was incredible.
And they just went back and forth. Somebody probably remembers the year, but
yeah, that was amazing.
I think a lot of that was because TBS covered Hawks games, so it's like it was easier to see Dominique play. And I used to record on VHS the Pointer Sisters, so hot together, and those and they would, and I would. My buddy Chris Salmon and I would watch TBS basketball Hawks games and wait for the commercials and record those one after another, and then go back and sit and watch those, and then go out into my backyard dunk hoop and try to duplicate those.
Emulate the Dominique.
Yeah,
Dominique Magnifique.
2-footer windmill, and he was robbed in the dunk contest.
I agree. Okay,
watch out, Kenya.
Favorite coaching saying or aphorism?
Oh boy. It's probably a question for my players. Favorite aphorism.
What do you find yourself saying a lot?
And do they even matter? Does it matter? Do we feel good that we've come up with something that is wise, but does it ever sink in?
I think about this all the time. I say all these brilliant things pregame, and then I erase the board, and it's out of their minds. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I wish you had given this to me in advance.
That's okay. We can come back to this one.
Favorite coaching aphorism. This is a question for my daughter.
Okay. She would say, favorite Marin restaurant.
Favorite Marin restaurant. Does it still have to be here?
No.
Oh, okay. Pancho Villa's.
In Fairfax.
Yeah. Pancho Villa's. Oh. Pancho Villa's was
not far from where we are right now.
No. And it was a place that I used to go when I was a kid. My dad and my brother was still around would take me there. We sat next to Journey. One time we sat next to Grace Slick one time. So I have those memories, and then I also have memories of after having Delaney, Lisa and I going down there and turning the stool upside down and putting the carrier on there and
having a margarita
and having drinking adult beverages before going home. So
yeah.
And Salvinio, who was our bartender there, is now at La Hacienda Carmen's in Nevada. So yeah, that was a classic.
All right, what's your
place.
favorite Marin restaurant currently operating?
Currently operating. Where do I go for a go-to meal?
I assume this is going to be a Novato answer.
Yeah. Let's see. I have two. The Lomo Saltado at Beso is a go-to Sunday brunch meal.
Where's this?
Beso is in Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it's there, but write it down and go. They have their Sunday brunches are
in the
crowded.
Hamilton Shopping Center?
No, Hamilton, like inside the base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, inside the base. It's right as you go in the main gates and go over the bridge, and right at the there's a roundabout kind of thing there.
Yeah.
It's Beso's right there.
Before you get to the old gym.
Yes, before you would take a right to the is right there.
Okay.
Sunday brunch, waffles, fried chicken, but the Loma Saltado.
Sunday brunch.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, what time is it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
That's great. I like Village Pizzeria. It used to be Cacti.
Yeah.
They got the soda bread there, so you eat the bread and just leave. Puts the Olive Garden.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, last one. Tony is a music lover. You go to live shows. You're a music fan. Give me your favorite show you've ever been to.
Wow.
Ooh, boy. Favorite show that I've ever been to.
Milli Vanilli? Am I good?
No, I mean this is a trick question because there's.
Well, let's level set this. How many Dead shows or Dead?
I'm a late Dead head. My wife Lisa turned me on to digging in deeper into the Dead. I never saw Jerry.
But a lot of Dead and Company. Right?
A lot of Dead and Company. I listen to a lot of Dead. I can still consider myself kind of a late blooming Dead head in a way.
Yeah.
Very fond of the music and just kind of I think my best musical experience. There's been a couple that have been great. In the Tibetan Freedom Concert.
Yeah.
Was something that you really can't experience anymore now. I mean, you can go to Bonnaroo or...
What year was that?
94?
Yeah.
95 was the first one. But, you could see De La Soul and the Fugees on once. They were side-by-side stages, so there wasn't like you do now where you have to walk half a mile, 2 miles to get to another stage.
It was all right there.
Yeah, it was all right there, and it was new, so it was a different experience. So you would see like a Tribe Called Quest and then pivot and see Rage Against the Machine and then pivot and see the Beastie Boys and then pivot. It was, when I was a college kid, so we were raging and the music was, the Foo Fighters and
amazing.
That was always great. But if I had to just narrow it down to the best music experiences, it all happened at Terrapin. It's all about
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Sad.
So it was all about Terrapin because it was just
intimate,
backyard, neighbors. But then there was also this dynamic of people that would migrate and travel there just to go to the place that Phil built.
Yeah.
So there was always that sort of Dead culture in there, but it wasn't always Dead bands. It was, like funk bands and things like that. But you could hear better music on the bar stage than you would pay $75 to see at the Fillmore.
Yeah.
And I've seen
totally agree.
Hundreds of shows at the Fillmore, all different genres, and they've all been great. But
Terrapin was unique.
Terrapin was a massive loss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tony, love talking to you. Thank you for your perspective on everything. Thank you for being a correspondent for us.
I'm not worthy.
You are absolutely worthy.
You just got a raise.
Yeah. We get him another
correspondent shirt. Plus.
Yeah. And Tony is an avid listener, and he's also just a leader of the Marin basketball community. He's one of the few people who I view as truly kind of the culture setter for Marin basketball.
Oh, thanks,
so
buddy. Appreciate
people
that.
look up to you, coaches look up to you. You're always going to be honest and authentic, and that's how you coach, and that's how you are as a person. So really honored to have you. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy. Hope we don't have to see each other on the sidelines anytime soon.
And Tony's also about to tell me how we can shut down TT Carr on Thursday. But we'll do that. We'll do that off the airwaves.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin."